Hello and welcome to the third devlog for Brainroll. So version 0.6 was shipped about 3 weeks ago, and since then I haven't made any public updates about the game at all. A reason why I didn't do any updates was because together with that new version I also for the first time sent this version of the game to some actual unknown people that has never seen the game or tested it before. They have no connections to me or the game whatsoever, just to get some feedback and see what random people on the internet think about my game. And with this update I wanna discuss a little bit about the things I learned from doing this, and also I will eventually demo the new mechanic that is shipped with version 0.6, and also talk a little bit about the future versions and how's it going. I contacted a total of 6 people, where about half of them are other game developers who I look up to and want to know what they think and if they have any ideas, if I'm on the right track and whatnot. The other half is just puzzle game enjoyers, so just people that I know enjoy puzzle games. So the first point I want to touch on is the difficulty curve, and this is I think something that most puzzle game developers have to struggle with a lot, because you really have to playtest much more than what I've done in order to get a good feel about how difficult your game is and how people receive it. So it was kind of like what I feared, that the first of all, the curve of difficulty in the game is a bit random. Like some levels are very easy in the middle of the game, while they should be like harder, or some levels are just too hard compared to the previous one. And this is something that I kind of anticipated before, but more importantly, there were no levels in the game that really made a player feel like it was hard or unsolvable. So that is something that I'm bringing with me from the playtest, that no one really found any levels really super difficult or got stuck anywhere in the game. So I'm gonna try to at least make a couple of levels that is really testing the how well the players learned the mechanics of the game. So far the original plan I've had is to reach around 50 levels, and once I've done that I think I'm ready to wrap the game up. I'm not saying that I'm just gonna settle with 50 levels, but if I make 50 good levels and don't come up with any more, I'm just gonna stop there. But of course, if I have more ideas, that number is gonna increase. So the next thing is that it has not been uncommon for players to both feel like that they can complete a level by just pressing random keys on the keyboard, but I've also seen players do exactly that as well. I think this is one reason is for sure that it is too hard in this game to keep all the moves in your head, so you basically have to just get into like trying things out in order to start figuring out a solution to it. But overall, I'm not really worried about you being able to solve a puzzle in this game by just hitting random keys, because the chance of you to make an ideal solution by doing that is quite small. I still feel like I think one problem with this is that I've so far told people that it's a Sokoban style game, so maybe that has given people kind of the think that it's gonna be like a short and sweet solution to everything, but I've actually modeled the game around the idea that there should be many solutions to one puzzle, and the idea is more of finding the optimal path or optimal solution rather than just finding a solution, which is something that I'm still to blame here because I haven't implemented anything that indicates this to the player, but it is coming for sure. So basically, I'm not really worried about this. My thoughts behind it is that you can beat a game of Sudoku, for example, by just pushing it into some Sudoku solver online, but you will not really be satisfied with that. You'll not feel like you accomplish anything, but you still beat the puzzle, right? But yeah, same thing goes with this game. Like, you can press any keys on your keyboard, but you're not gonna really find the best way to solve it or do anything clever by doing that. So I'm more in the headspace where I'm fine with you moving around randomly in order to find an idea of, oh, you can solve it by doing this or this way, and then maybe you'll go back and beat the puzzle several more times just to figure out how to do it the most optimal way. And that's kind of my thoughts about that. The final thing that I want to talk about is to be more to be really specific. I got a suggestion from one of the playtesters to stop working on Brainroll because it's not really a good idea and it doesn't have enough depth to it. And I've thought about that a lot, actually, and that is also one of the reasons why I didn't post any devlog or video for quite a while, because I was thinking about that, and I hadn't made up my mind about really what I thought about someone saying that to me, and now I've come to the conclusion that I will just categorize it as poisonous advice, and I will not follow through with anything like that. But it did help me realize that I've wandered a bit like off the path, my original idea for the game. I've been caring too much about what other people think in a bad way, so to speak. I've always had like a clear image of what I want Brainroll to be and how I want it to be, because I'm not really that much into puzzle games myself, but Brainroll is something that I'm more like akin to. It's more something for me compared to other games. And what I think is really cool is how the design of Brainroll has evolved in a natural way. Like, all the ideas are just from the simple idea that you slide on ice. Everything else after that has come from me, like, experimenting and testing the game, figuring things out. We'll get more into that later, but it's all just from a basic idea. Everything else just came naturally, kind of. Something also that I wanted to kind of mention in the same kind of point here is that it also made me think about me remaking the original version of Brainroll that was more like it was a sliding puzzle game, but some people think it's better to call it a maze. But what happened here, like after that, is more that I created almost like a different game now, and it's a more of a puzzle game now than it was before, and I think it's much better than it was before, but it's still a different game in a sense. And I think it's I had a bunch of content for the old version, and I think it's kind of a waste to just throw that all away, because I was still satisfied with the core sliding idea that I had. So one thing in hindsight I think I should have done is to just create two separate versions of the game. Basically, one I could release it for free on each or something like that. Like, here's the old version, it's like super simple, or whatever. I think the reason for all of this happening is basically that I've been historically been very insecure about my abilities, both as a programmer and a game designer. And now, like when it's starting to get real and people testing your game, you like second guess yourself a lot. But I'm still working on that. I think I need to follow my original ideas more and just to do what I like, because otherwise I probably won't be able to sustain working on this in my spare time, like 2 hours per day. So yeah. And even if Brainroll is released in an imperfect state, I will just try to make it as good as I can right now. And even if it's not the best game ever, I would see it as a snapshot of how good I was at designing puzzle games at this point in time. And I'll take everything that I've learned so far into the next game that I will make.